Welcome into the LMU Men's Basketball Report for December 12th. Scott Erlin in here with head coach Josh Schertz to catch you up on the rail splitters. Coach, since we last talked, you guys haven't played a game, and the big thing to me and you had talked about, particularly after the Brevard game and then in the basketball report that followed, was just you were excited to have a chance to step away and really get to kind of focus on your team instead of preparation. So how has this kind of week of practice gone leading up to this week?
I think it's gone okay. We've had some time to really kind of hopefully work on some areas that we felt like we were not performing well in, areas that we need to improve. And at this time of year, everybody's got things they can do better. And so we've really gone to work. We went twice yesterday, and so we've been able to do some things that probably really during the season you don't get a chance to do too often. So hopefully we can perform a little better on Wednesday in terms of some areas that we felt like that were kind of glaring for us after the first 9 games.
Well, and for you, what were the areas that you really focused on once you went back to the tape? Since we last talked to you, have got to go and review the tape. Y'all had taken those few days off, and then what did you see that you really needed to hone in on over that break?
Well, almost every area, but I mean, obviously things that were glaring. We gotta guard the ball better. Stay in front of our guy. We've got to be. We get lost too much in transition defense. Got to do a better job of getting matched and talking. We think obviously from our help, being alert on the weak side, and guys understanding help and help the helper and rotations and things of that sort. Being more disciplined in terms of fouls. We're fouling way too much. Offensively, we can play faster. I think we can certainly execute at a much higher level. A lot of times you score, but we're scoring off of guys just making plays versus really being sound in terms of our execution. So there's really nothing that we couldn't get better at. Rebounding, I think we've improved in, but certainly we can get better in terms of being more physical, being tougher, hitting people, and not just turning around and going to run for the ball and trying to out-athlete people. That works sometimes, but obviously there's been games where it hasn't. So the better teams you play, you got to be more sound in more areas. Consistency has to be a big thing. And so those are all areas we've really tried to clean up, and you can't do it in 4 days. But I do feel like we've made some progress in certain areas, and we'll see. Obviously, we'll be tested here this week with 2 big games, and we'll see if we can go out and put it to use on the floor against a real good Wingate team on Wednesday, and then a really good Newberry team on Saturday.
Well, let's talk about this week coming up. The last 2 games here before that little dead period for Christmas break begins with a road trip to Wingate on Wednesday, a team that's kind of been a little bit of a head scratcher this year so far. They made it to the semifinals of the Southeast Regional last year, and were really just a few points away from getting, pushing on to the championship. And they're off to a kind of weird start. Brought back most everybody from last year's team, 3-6 on the season, 1-3 in sack place. We'll talk about what you've seen from the Bulldogs so far this year.
Well, I think I would say first, they've not been whole most of the year. They've been playing without here the last 7 games at Isaiah Curitin, and everybody has a tendency to jump and look at somebody's record and you say, okay, well they're 3-6, and so they're not very good or what have you. But you look at it closer. I think 5 of the 6 losses have been by 3 or 4 points or less. They had one egg at Pembroke. Outside of that, they could very easily, be 8-1 and undefeated in the league. They lost by, I know, a late 3-pointer to Newberry, a late 3-pointer, I believe, to Mars Hill at the buzzer to lose that game, and then obviously lost by 3 to Tusculum. So while they're 1-3 in the league, they could easily play here, play there, be 4-0. And so what about Wingate is, like, I think every year they're going to be very, very well coached. They're incredibly sound on both sides of the ball. Brian does a great job. He's one of the, I've been in the league now 9 years. He's been in the league 9 years, so played his team a number of times in a lot of high stakes games, and we've been fortunate to win some. Obviously, they've beaten us in some big situations as well, but his teams are always extremely sound offensively, defensively. I think he's as good a defensive coach as there is. His teams are always connected together. They're always physical and tough, and so I think Wingate's a really good team. That probably their record is a little bit deceiving when you look at it deeper than just the surface of, okay, they're 3-6, 1-3 in the league. So, they're not good. Where, like I said, probably, they're 12 points away or 10 points away from being 4-0 in the league, and everybody going, oh, this is a huge matchup. And I think they're gonna get it together. Obviously, once they get whole, Curitin's back is probably a different record, different story than where they are now. We'll expect that he'll play against us. We don't know, either way, but we'll expect him to play, and I think Wingate's going to have a great year, and at the end, will be one of those teams that's fighting up towards the top of the South Atlantic Conference.
Well, right now, like you said, they are kind of struggling on both ends of the court. 8th in the conference in points per game scored, and 7th in points per game allowed, and they're giving up 41% from three-point range. So how much of a difference you think Isaiah Curitin would make? Obviously, you've already mentioned him a couple of times. So you think he would make on both ends of the court for this team?
Yeah, I think anytime you're playing without, probably, I think arguably your best player, you're not going to be as good. I think they're, I don't know, in terms of a point differential what it would be, but certainly I know they're a better team when Isaiah Curitin's out there, because he I think last year and going this year is probably their best player, one of the best players in the league, and just like any of us, we're a better team. When Luquan Choice is out there and everybody across the board, Carson Newman's better when Charles Clark's out there. You take away the best player in any team, and it makes things harder. Your margin for error shrinks, and you got to be better. And so, I think certainly hard to speculate on exactly if they'd be 7-2 versus 3-6 or what have you. But I think they'd be they're a better team when he's out there, and I think they'll probably be better once he's back for having played without him, because other guys, is kind of forcing the guys to step up. And you look at a guy like Josh Dominguez is really playing well, and Zariq Lawler and Mike Baez, who got off to a kind of a slower start. He's one of the best players in the league, and he's kind of, I think last game had 22 points and 15 rebounds. So he's starting to play like what he is, which is an all-league guy. And so I think once they get Curitin back in their hole, I think they'll be what everybody expected, which is one of the better teams in the league, one of the better teams in the region, and I think they'll be everything that probably what people thought they would be, and that's what we're expecting on Wednesday is their best for them to be whole. We certainly hope they're whole. We want, you never want anybody to play less than with what they have, and hopefully they're whole, and we expect them to be at their best.
Well, and without giving away too much, aside from the standard stuff that it takes to win, the rebounding, the solid defensive effort, and any of that stuff, shot making, what is going to have to happen for you guys to take care of business against Wingate on Wednesday on the road?
Well, it's always a hard place to play. I think we're like anything, we have to go out, and I think we have to play. Wingate's going to challenge us in a lot of areas that we're trying to improve. Be it transition defense, going to have to be sound there. And again, we get lost way too much in transition. Our ability to hold our ground on the ball, not just open our hips and allow straight line drives. They do a great job of getting downhill and putting pressure on the rim. They play fast and are shooting it, I think, quicker than I've seen his teams in the past shoot it. I think offensively, they're very aggressive, how they play ball screens, how they play the post. You gotta be physical and take care of the ball, and they do a good job of pushing you out. You gotta be strong with it. You gotta be able to move it. So offensively, we've got to take care of the ball, and we've got to be strong against their physicality, because they're going to try to, whether it's jumping ball screens or really fronting the post and being physical, they try to take you out of what you want to do. You got to be strong enough and physical enough to be able to move the ball and get the ball where you want to get it to. And so we'll see. It's going to be a challenge, certainly. Again, every time we play them, it's we played them 3 times last year, played them for the league championship. His teams are always they're different personnel, and sometimes they're a little bit different stylistically, but the core things that a Brian Good team does in terms of their physicality, their toughness, their soundness, those things are in place. So we're going to have to really be performing at a high level and really do things well on both sides of the ball as it relates to our transition, our on-ball defense, our help, our rebounding, rotations, all those things. On offense, obviously you can't control shots going in. We got to take care of the ball, and we got to not get pushed out, and we got to be smart as how we handle their on-ball pressure and their off-ball denials.
And obviously, kind of an interesting situation. And from the time the season started on November 11th, you've been go nonstop with games, and now you've had this 9-day break. Is that kind of any kind of concern for you to be playing after going more than a week without getting on the court and seeing another team?
It's strange. I mean, it wasn't what we had hoped. When the schedule came out, it wasn't. Just kind of fell this way with Brevard's finals getting moved and everything. Normally we play a game midweek of finals week to try to narrow that gap down, but it just it didn't work out that way. So yeah, I mean, it's concerning to not have played outside competition for 9 days, but I think also, again, hopefully gives you a chance to heal up, be rested, and again, work on the things. We've been able to, like I said, do some things that we normally, I don't think, ever really in season. We kind of almost like a mini Christmas break in the middle of the season. So hopefully we come out and we're fresh and got clear mind and fresh legs and ready to play on Wednesday. But certainly when you're away for 9 days, haven't played a game, there is concern that you go out and you're not, maybe there may be some rush you got to kick off. But at the end of the day, Wingate's had the same exact break we've had, so I mean they're dealing with the same circumstance.
Well, and then not to look too far ahead, but on Saturday you come back here to wrap up, I guess what you would say the first half of the first semester of the season against Newberry at Texas Turner Arena. Another team that's pretty difficult to prepare for on just a short turnaround. We know how they want to play at this point. They want to score a lot of points. They want to play really fast. They want to create turnovers. So talk about that challenge of turning around after 2 days of traveling to Wingate and coming back to play a team like Newberry.
Well, it's going to be difficult because you got the reality is we're going to get back here about 4:30 in the morning on Thursday morning, from Wingate, and so Thursday is going to be kind of a wash, and really you'll have a Friday preparation with Dave's team. Obviously, one of the more unique styles in the country. What they do from tip to buzzer is put pressure on you, and they put pressure on you with their defense. They put pressure on you with how fast they play, how hard they drive it. The thing I've always really admired about Dave and his teams are how hard they play, what great competitors they are. They certainly take on his personality. They fight, scratch, claw, compete, and they challenge you every possession. So it'll be for the guys. We got a lot of new guys that haven't played Newberry before, so it's hard to simulate their pressure. It's hard to simulate how well they fly around and what the job you got to do in terms of taking care of the ball and trying to be smart in how you attack their pressure. It's almost a little bit like Coker, where you got to take advantage when you have numerical advantages, and you got to play good number advantage basketball, and then when you don't, you've got to be smart enough to not just play at their pace and just cast up one because hey, we got to shoot it. We're sped up. So, difference between attacking and playing frantic, and we've got to find that balance when we play them. But Dave's team, certainly do what they do. They do it as well as anybody, that style as well as anybody in the country. And so it'll be one of those deals where if you're not ready to play, they can absolutely come in. We've been on the receiving end of, I think here, a couple of years ago they beat us about 15 or 20 and just turned us over and hit a ton of threes, and they're an avalanche when they get going. So we'll have to play well, and both games, really I'm interested to see, because the things that I've been concerned about, again, transition defense, on-ball defense. When you think about Wingate and Newberry, they're both teams that play fast. They're really dribble drive-esque teams, so the help, the rotation, rebounding, those type of things, our physicality on offense, our ball toughness, all that'll be challenged. So I'm interested to see how we handle it.
Well, and then how important is it to kind of this week to continue to see that progression, continue to see that growth before you head into the dead period of Christmas break and then come back? And we know how the second half of the season really gets kicked off. Bellarmine here on the 31st, then go to Mars Hill, or home against Mars Hill, and then trips to Queens and Anderson. A really tough stretch, kind of right back on that second semester. So how important is it for you guys to continue to grow and play well this week?
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, first you got 2 league games, so we always tell our guys, you can't win the league in November and December, but you sure can lose it. And you lose a couple league games, and going to Christmas, you could really find yourself almost on the outside looking in on a league race heading before the new year. That's the unique thing about Division II and playing 22 league games. But I think in terms of overall, yeah, I mean the growth has to be continuous. There's got to be a commitment to continual improvement for everybody inside the program and guys working, because ultimately for us to have a chance to to be competitive and against teams like Bellarmine, who I think is a national championship caliber team, a team like Queens that I think is a national championship caliber team, to be competitive and have a chance against those guys, everybody's got to be all they can be, and that's the only way that you're going to have a chance to have any level of success against those type of programs. So we've got to get much better between December 12th and I think December 31st, and part of that is obviously how we practice. Our game experiences. We take that break for Christmas. We come back and hopefully. Didn't exactly pan out this way in the preseason, but hopefully the challenges but I think we're in a different place mentally now. Hopefully the challenges that are on the horizon when we come back for Christmas in terms of playing Bellarmine, who we saw really handle Huntsville and how Huntsville handled us, and a team like Queens that I think is just obviously handled Carson Newman without their best player, without Camps playing. We know. How good and how strong and how competitive it's going to be, and hopefully that brings a certain level of acuity to the practices and a sense of urgency about we got to practice at a high level, compete at a high level, and try to give ourselves a chance to control the controllables. When you're playing great teams like we're going to be playing, and even this week, it's all about trying to perform at the highest level possible, consistency. And obviously competitiveness win, right? So we're gonna have to compete at the highest level, and the biggest thing we got to do in practice is develop better habits so we can be more consistent in doing the right things, because that execution piece is the piece, that attention to detail, that we got to still have the most growth in as a team.